Good? Okay, so my name is Clayton Thomas, for those of you who don't know me. Right now, there are five major things people are looking for, and they look at them almost exclusively, right? You have some people that are looking for detoxes, but they're not thinking about these, or they're looking for anti-inflammatories, but they're not correlating them all. What if you did one thing, or you could do one thing that addressed all of them, simply? Conceptually, that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? The anti-aging perspective, if we look at telomeres and whatnot, or telomeres, however you want to pronounce it, you have the DNA, and you've got these little strands on the end of your DNA, and I'm not very good at drawing double helixes, but you've got these little protective caps, and as they shrink over time, the cell ages, and when they get down to the end, the cell dies. So people want to increase the length of these with different supplements and whatnot. My question is, there's something in here that's causing these to shrink prematurely. You've got heavy metals, different environmental toxins, chemical pollutants that are in us from conception, in birth, and then throughout life that are causing those telomeres to shrink prematurely. So does it make more sense to take stuff to lengthen those telomeres, or remove what's causing the shrinkage first? You've got to remove the cause before you start trying to lengthen them, because if you're taking supplements to lengthen a telomere and they're still being damaged, you're just doing this the whole time, right? So in some instances, you're throwing a lot of money away. Inflammation, everybody's favorite buzzword. You know, they say, oh, this causes so many problems, right? Doesn't the intelligent question come up that say, okay, if negative inflammation, not all inflammation is bad, mind you. There's good forms of inflammation in the body. It's actually really important. But if this is the cause of so many problems, why does no one ask what causes the negative inflammation? Doesn't it make sense just to go after what's causing the freaking problem? Same thing with energy production. People, I mean, how many people drink energy drinks and all this stuff? I've never had one, so I can't speak to it. But people don't have as much energy as they want. They don't have as much energy as they used to because their cells can't produce it. Energy is the ability to do work at its basic level. We naturally produce it. We're like a reactor for it. The problem is that you have, say, magnesium, that is an essential mineral that has to work inside the mitochondria. So your mitochondria, your little powerhouses of every cell, produce ATP and produce energy. If they're blocked by other toxins and chemicals that mimic those, you don't produce as much energy. You just can't. Same thing for fat. What is fat? It's a storage medium, right? For two primary things. One, energy. Two, chemicals and toxins. So how could you make the correlation between obesity and people being fat and cancer? They've tied this together. Same thing with diabetes. You know, and they know that there's a direct correlation between the two, because if you're here, you're freaking toxic. It's not that you're lazy. I mean, fat people aren't just lazy, right? They're like, oh yeah, I want to be this way. No, because they don't have the energy, because they're freaking loaded with stuff, and their body's got to store all that stuff away. Because the problem with these chemicals and toxins and pollutants and all the stuff that we're conceived with are, they have to go somewhere. Your body will protect itself. It has to, because if you don't, they get into your organs, they get into your brain, and they cause malfunctions, and you shut down and you die early. Our body in general doesn't prefer to do that. So it stores all of this garbage in fat. Could go to different places. Could be around your waist, could be in your butt, could be in your thighs, could be wherever. But the cool thing comes in is if you can get into the fat and start removing some of those chemicals, or you get into the brain and remove some of the stuff, they go away. The cravings go away, the fat goes away, because the reason that you have the fat, which is to store the toxins, if you can get into the toxins and grab onto them and remove them, the fat goes away. Your body's like, oh, I don't need that anymore, there's nothing in it. So it starts to come off. It's not immediate, it's not really fast, but healthy weight loss isn't supposed to be fast, right? So if you look at fat loss, you have these people that are burning off a lot of fat. You know, they lost 40 pounds in 2 months. What'd they just do? You just released all of that crap that was stored in that fat back into your bloodstream. And it's got to go somewhere. And the problem with heavy metals and environmental toxins and chemical pollutants that are in your body that have been sequestered, your body can't get that stuff out. That's the problem. We lack the ability naturally to effectively clean that stuff out. Which gets back to number one, the importance of detoxification. And really not just detoxification that everyone's familiar with, but cellular detoxification. There's some great stuff online and on YouTube about, you know, cellular detoxification and how to get the stuff out. And for about the last 20 years, there's been major conversations about how to get out of the GI, how to work in the bloodstream, and how to work around cells, and how to get into the blood-brain barrier. And there have been some drugs that through IV or through oral use are good at grabbing onto some metals and mobilizing a lot of stuff, but nothing has really been able to systemically and subcellularly, not just around a red blood cell on the outside, but actually get on the inside and work with the mitochondria and the nucleus in here where your DNA is and your little powerhouses. Nothing's been able to get inside the cell until now. There's a class of mineral that has been used for millennia for this natural ability, and that's the class of zeolites. One specifically is the most special, which is clinoptilolite. And there's a quiz later, so if you can't pronounce it, you got to work on it. This specific mineral is the most effective, most proven method for remediation of heavy metals and environmental toxins out there. Naturally, it's what nature created to make sure that the heavy metals and chemicals and toxins that were coming from volcanic eruptions were remediated. They're very well proven for their ability to bind different chemicals, different heavy metals, viral particles, and whatnot. The problem is, this is a rock. And being a rock, it's insoluble in water, which is why it's used for remediation of water, air, soil in ways that you can just use it topically. It's good for cleaning up oil spills in different manners. Because you can put it in the environment, it doesn't go into solution. But when we look at true benefits, both environmentally and internally, insoluble means it's not going to work outside the GI tract. Whether it's in a powder or a suspension of a powder, they're both still insoluble. A suspension does not equal solution. You guys know that, right? Chemistry class. So Kool-Aid, not a liquid, right? Because if you put a lot of Kool-Aid in a glass, it'll sit down in the bottle. Or we could go outside, grab a bunch of dirt, and I could throw it in a glass and shake it up, and it turns brown, and it looks like it's a liquid. But if you let it sit for a while, everything settles out. That's a suspension, right? That's what everybody's been selling. You can take a powder and take a little bit of it and throw it in water, and it'll suspend. That's still a powder. It's going to work in the GI tract. This is the key. It's making this stuff water soluble that's been the goal for over 30 years. And I've been able to work with and talk to the top nuclear research laboratory on the planet that does some weapons research, but they do a lot of anti-proliferation. They're the key organization when it comes to cleanup of radioactive isotopes and some of these Superfund sites and spills and chemical problems. They've been trying to make this zeolite water soluble for about 30 years. Never been able to do it before. We did it. And this is the fun part, is now we've been able to take that mineral that everybody knows is very good at getting all the bad stuff out, and through a very special process of hydrolysis, we've made little fragments that are water soluble and small enough to go anywhere they want in the human body. So, but very basically what we've been able to do is break the bonds, the connective bonds between these, and create individual fragments of a larger honeycomb structure that are able to go wherever they want. They are the same structure that this is. We're not changing it molecularly or anything, we're just breaking it apart. We figured out how to do that, how to keep it intact, how to clean it out, because like we went over, naturally, it's a molecular sieve. Stuff's been in the environment for a couple hundred years, a couple 100 million years. So it's been around stuff. The gauges aren't empty. They got stuff in them. So we're able to get rid of all the junk, but then clean it up, make it water soluble, so then you can get into the body, not just in the GI, but work through the bloodstream, cross the blood-brain barrier, across cellular membranes where it can get in there, grab onto stuff. The quick, simple synopsis of what we've done, how this works, and why Sozo is so special now, and why this product is so special. What have we done? We've hydrolyzed clinoptilolite for the first time. So we've taken the mineral, the volcanic mineral, that is best known, most proven for binding heavy metals, clinoptilolite. There's a spelling test as well as a pronunciation test at the end of this. Best known for binding heavy metals, environmental toxins, naturally. We've taken that mineral and through a very special process of hydrolysis and a couple extra steps, made this mineral for the first time water soluble, and even more importantly, bioavailable. So naturally, you've got a mineral that has a honeycomb cage structure, not negatively charged, so it acts like a magnet and a sieve for heavy metals and environmental toxins. You can go on Google, you can go on PubMed.gov and look up clinoptilolite, clinoptilolite, and find 360 published articles on its ability to do this. Bind mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, aluminum, cesium, strontium, viral particles. Do some really cool stuff with abnormal cells and what it can do. But it's always fallen short in the fact that it's a rock, it's insoluble. Even if you grind it in a powder, take it directly, or grind it in a powder and throw it in water, it's still going to work in the GI tract. We created a process that actually breaks apart that honeycomb structure and takes individual cells and cleans out those cells as well, so there's none of the heavy metals or toxins that are naturally in the environment, and allows it to get in the body where it can work through the bloodstream, cross the blood-brain barrier, cross cellular membranes, cross into adipose tissue, which is fat, grab onto toxins and chemicals and viral particles that cause a lot of problems, grab them and you pee them out. And you just repeat that process. Very safe, very simple, extremely systemic and passive and effective. And the unique part when we look at our industry is no one else can do it, no one else has ever done it, and it's protected, proprietary, and patented. And my favorite word, exclusive.